Angry Joe shilling for EA, Disney, Star Wars, and VR all in a single video. This has to be the absolute lowest, most transparent example of how willing this motherfucker is to bend over backwards to protect certain franchises and brands. I've already talked extensively about how we give really high scores to games that don't really deserve it. The Witcher 3 comes to mind, Skyrim comes to mind, GTA 5 comes to mind. Like, lots and lots of games he's covered over the years don't deserve 10 out of 10 scores, all right? And Star Wars Rogues, what the fuck is the game even called? I don't even care. I just looked at the video, saw he gave it a 10 out of 10, and decided to comment on this. So, I don't even know what this game is, but, wait, where the fuck is it? Hang on. Yeah, Star Wars Squadrons, okay? The VR game where you're, honestly, I should probably, like, do a reaction review to this, like, so I can go over, like, all the ridiculous aspects of this, but, Angry Joe is straight up a shill. Like, there's no getting around this. Like, why is he going back and desperately always trying to pretend that, like, oh, we should be looking forward to new Star Wars media. We should be looking forward to new Star Wars content. I have every faith in Disney, EA, and the Star Wars license to continue delivering quality content. No, that hasn't been the case in years. Why are you still pretending shit like Battlefront 2 is worth playing, worth even being excited for example? Shit like Jedi Fallen Order is worthy of being interest, is worthy of attention, and stuff like this. Like, oh, it's a VR game. Like, again, it feels like an advertisement, right? It feels like, oh, please go out and buy VR. Please keep these companies relevant. Like, no, it's not going to happen. VR basically, I think, has flatlined. Like, the industry has kind of failed to keep the interest in it going. Nobody is buying this shit, I feel like. Other than, like, the people who are deliberately paid to hype it up. People like Angry Joe, people like the gaming journalists, people who work on the project. Like, there's no real enthusiasm for VR. Like, what people are enthusiastic about are Nintendo Switch, are Nintendo's take on the concept with augmented reality. Like, Mario Kart Home Circuit, I'm sure will outperform VR quite handedly. It's going to be ridiculous. So, again, like, VR doesn't make a game better. Like, I don't understand why these people seriously keep coming out and giving these games like Half-Life Alyx, like, all this attention and praise, all because it's in VR. Like, when Ocarina came out in 3D, like, it wasn't just a 3D game, right? Like, it was a fully realized adventure. Like, it was an expansion, a true evolution over what they did with A Link to the Past, right? Like, it was entirely an entirely new world, an entirely new adventure with entirely new characters, dungeons, ideas, items, what have you, like that kind of thing. Like, it was a completely new, revolutionary experience. It wasn't just the same thing, but in VR this time, and that's it. Like, that's the reality, I think, is that, like, VR games just can't really compete with the established first-person games because they're basically the same thing. Like, fundamentally, it comes down to the same things. Like, the only thing with the VR is that, like, oh, you can sometimes see your arms wave in front of you. Like, no, that is not worth $600. Okay, that is not worth a purchase. That is not worth the asking price. Like, no, not going to do it. Not interested at all. If VR takes off, it's probably going to be because of porn. Like, let's be real here. It's going to be because of porn. It's not going to be because of these games that nobody wants to play. Like, no. Angry Joe needs to be held accountable for his actions, for his, like, refusal to sort of acknowledge the problems with with this technology, to refuse to acknowledge that like it's basically a failure. It has no audience. There are no games for it. Like there's no momentum behind it. There's no real interest. Like nobody cares, right? Like outside of the people trying to sell you this product, there's no enthusiasm, none at all. Just anyway. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. Angry Joe fans need to realize that Angry Joe, first and foremost, is a shill. He's not a gamer. He doesn't play Nintendo. He doesn't know what's actually out there. His job is to sell you on the new upcoming project. You just know he's going to do lots of damage control for Cyberpunk 2077 when that finally comes out. You just know he's going to give more of these terrible games 10 out of 10s. You know he's going to downplay the problems with the Xbox Series X and the PS5. You know he's never going to review Nintendo games. You know he's going to give unwarranted praise to these terrible indie games like Unravel, like, what's another example? Unravel is the one I always come back to. You just know he's going to do like this kind of thing over and over and over again, rather than just acknowledge that, rather than just play an actual video game. You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing about Star Wars Squadrons that makes me think I need that it's a 10 out of 10 game. Like, if anything, like, simply seeing the 10 out of 10 is just, it reminds me of how, like, Genshin Impact got a 10 out of 10 from IGN. It's not a 10 out of 10. People are only giving it attention because they're desperately trying to justify these other games, trying to promote these games, right? Like, they're trying to put them up there with the great, all-time great Nintendo games when they have no business being there. Like, very, very frustrating. It needs to stop. Okay, that's my mindset on this. Like, stop giving 10 out of 10s to games that no one is going to remember by the end of the month.